He's not.
Facebook.
Okay, we're good.
All right.
Me.
Okay. I'd like to,
Recording in progress.
okay, thank you very much. Okay, I want to welcome you all to the April 6th meeting of the Historic District Commission. Before we get started, I would, again, like to put our hearts and prayers out to the people of Ukraine and hope that this carnage will stop quickly. I'm going to do introductions here first, I guess. I'll do way over there. I'm going to do Heinz Silk Schubert. Okay,
Good evening.
I've got Dan Brown.
Good evening.
I've got Martin Ryan.
Evening.
Reagan Rudig.
Well,
I've got next to me Nick Cracknell.
From the planning department, good evening.
Good evening. I have got Mr. I'm sorry, I know.
Rich Blaylock.
Blaylock, yeah, Miss Councilman Blaylock.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
I'm very sorry. I have a lot of trouble with names. Okay, Margot Doring.
Good evening.
Yep. I've got Mr. Adams.
Good evening.
Yes, and Karen Bouffard.
Good evening.
Okay, so I'm going to read the statement. We'll get rolling right along. The board's action in these matters has been deemed to be quasi-judicial in nature. If any person believes any member of the board has a conflict of interest, that issue should be raised at this point, or it will be deemed waived. Our first approval of minutes here, and we have quite a few going back 2 months. So I would say that we would take February 2nd and February 9th. Does anybody have any comments on that month's minutes? Okay, so if we could have a motion to approve those.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And those opposed. Okay, then we have March 2nd and March 9th minutes. So does anyone have a problem? Any comments? So a motion,
So moved. Second.
and all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we're doing very well here. Now, administrative approvals. Is there anybody who has to recuse themselves from any of these administrative approvals?
Yes, I need to recuse myself from 64 Mount Vernon Street.
Okay, so we're going to have to pull 64 Mount Vernon out. And would you want to do that one first, Nick?
Oh, we got another one down here.
What's that?
I'm going to recuse myself from the 35 Bow Street.
Okay, so we, Bow Street and Mount Vernon,
Number 6.
number 6.
I'd recommend that 7 and 10 come out as well, just because I've earmarked them TBD, to be determined.
Yeah.
So if you'd like, I'll do the remainder.
Why don't you do the quick ones then?
All right. So we've got item number 1, 28 Chapel Street. Rather than scroll through all of these, I think I'd sum it up by saying I wasn't sure when this was filed whether Tom needed to come here for admin approval. There are a lot of items on the list. I would suggest, after having reviewed it thoroughly a couple of days ago, that it looks like it's exempt from review. Everything's really a replacement in kind. I think the questions I had putting this on there a week ago, before I looked at what eventually was submitted, is the aluminum gutter being removed and replaced in kind. Everything else, the flashing, the trim, the freeze board, the clapboards, any other repairs are all suggested to be instated as a replacement in kind. And the applicant is also doing restoration on the windows, which is great. I think I provided the list of window restoration consultants or contractors several weeks ago, and he's requesting to replace the aluminum storms with wood storms, which is one of the exempt categories. So I don't think there's a need for a presentation unless somebody saw something different, and I think we could just approve it in case there's something there that's very, very minor.
Yeah.
So that's 28 Chapel. Does anybody have any?
May I interject?
Absolutely.
The building has been repaired many times over the years. A cursory examination of the exterior looks like it was built around 1836. It has its earliest clapboard in many locations on the building are scarfed.
Okay.
There's been a lot of repair work done, as with any, and back at another time, that repair work was done with just square edge butted clapboards. I would think that if we had an option of reinterpreting some of those areas, the damaged areas that need repair, that we ought to do so in a period fashion. And other than that, I have no other issues. There's many original features of the construction of that house still there, with the exception of a window on the south side. But I would think we'd want to celebrate that
Yep.
without any work done on that building.
I appreciate you pointing that out. The reason that we bring clapboards here is a house on Gate Street, maybe 6, 7 years ago, removed the siding and did a butt joint instead of the scarfed.
Yeah.
And it was treated as a replacement in kind, wood siding for wood siding. That's why we bring it here, so I appreciate you pointing that out. That would normally be a stipulation of any approval that would come from me as a replacement in kind. So I would suggest that you include that as a stipulation, that the joints be scarfed if that's in fact the, are you okay with that as the applicant? He's in the front row. Yeah, he's good with it. So, thank you, David. Good point. Excellent point. Okay, so we good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. The second item that was not pulled off is 92 Pleasant Street, which is the replacement windows. This is the project that came before us for the work session. What they'd like to do, they're asking for a continuance of the second meeting of this month, where they were talking about windows, the balcony, and the siding, and the new windows on the back. They will not be doing that next week. What they're seeking today is the ability or the right to replace the replacement windows that were put into the attic with the Green Mountain window. I believe that it's a 6/6 sash to match the rest of the building, and with the spacer bar, and they are proposing to take the aluminum siding off and either remove, repair, replace the clapboards wood for wood underneath. Any questions or comments on that?
I have
Yes.
a question about the screens.
Oh, half screens we need, right?
It says no storms, no screens.
Well, if they're not, I guess the windows that they're replacing could have screens. I see what you're going.
Why don't we just specify a half
If-
screen?
Yeah, if
Yeah,
we're gonna
if
install
screen, yep.
screens, then it should be a half screen.
They don't want to put any screens? That's fine, too.
Okay. Bear with me here.
That's two.
Yep. Okay, 284 Newcastle Ave is a request to construct a screen for an outdoor shower. Seems well-designed and not very visible from the public way. Any questions on that one? Okay, 137 Daniel Street is a replacement door in the alleyway between the former Connie Bean and the new bank building on the corner. They are proposing to replace that door and have a different design. That's why they're here.
Sure didn't last very long.
No, I think, yeah. I don't know why. But
Yeah, it looks like that glass is clouded.
it leaked, yeah.
Yeah, seal is broken.
Yeah. So they're making a fairly minor revision to the door with a bigger kick panel on the
Yeah,
bottom.
they're putting some wood.
Yeah.
All right.
We good on that?
With me, yeah.
137, Daniel? Okay, so we're going to skip 6, skip 7, go to 77 Wentworth. This is an HVAC being proposed with a screen, a louvered screen. So it seems to be, this is what we want to amend the exemptions to allow as of right in the future. But right now, they've got to come here to have that screen approved and put in the condenser. Any questions on 77 Wentworth? I think the screen's on the last image in that application. No? Yeah?
Nope, no
Okay.
problem.
100 Deer Street. This is the Port Walk project at the far end on the Deer Street end of Port Walk Place. They are proposing to replace the awning with a pergola. The awning that's over that entryway now, or the outdoor seating, they'd like to put a more permanent structure as a pergola. black, I believe.
Yeah.
Gloss black. Any questions or concerns? The applicant is here if you have questions regarding that application.
It's certainly not what I'm used to seeing as a pergola.
Me
but,
neither. Is that, so is this is just basically a more rigid, retractable awning? Rigid in
I
that
don't even know if it's
it's,
retractable.
Why don't you come to the mic? Yeah. I will pull it up.
Sorry, I would not have. Eben Tormey, representing Parade Hotel. I would not call it a pergola either, but that's what the company calls it, is a level 1 pergola. It's a retractable awning.
okay.
So the idea is to be able to use that space, that seating area in inclement weather. So it's a permanent structure frame with a retractable fabric awning.
Great,
Okay.
great,
Thank you.
okay.
All right, that's it for the so-called easy ones. 1, 3, 4, 5, 8, and 9 with 2 stipulations, the half screen if needed on 92 Pleasant, and the scarf joints for the clapboards on 28 Chapel.
What about 10? Is that?
10, I thought we should take out.
I'm not seeing the form of the screening for the
Which
AC
one?
condenser on.
Okay, on
The last
77.
page
Yeah.
of that
It's
application,
on the last page.
it looks like a,
It's just
under, right there, that's the screening.
There,
Yeah,
I see the
it's going
location.
behind the lattice,
oh,
that's
it's
right.
actually
okay.
going
Yeah.
underneath the house?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah. In case that's not the case, they'll come back with a screen.
We're
Okay.
reading this as not
Yeah.
having its own roof.
Right. Are you here for that?
I am the
Perfect.
owner of that property.
Perfect. Come forward.
Please. Certainly.
Could you
This is
clarify?
77 Wentworth Street,
Yes.
as you mentioned. For those of you who are not familiar with the property, if you were to go to this side of the building and look out the window across the pond, it's that 2-story yellow house. The proposed location for the condenser is actually in an area that is surrounded on 4 sides. There's a fence on one side, the stairway on the right side, and behind where the person took that picture is the garage. So you can't see that from any other area except from that one location. So we're more than willing to put a fence, thank you. We're more than willing to put a little fence around it or whatever it is, but it's not visible from the street, from 4 sides. It's just not visible.
Excuse me, but could you give your name, please?
My name is Ed Polino. I'm the property owner.
Okay, yeah, I understand that, but, you know, it has to be, it's on the book, so,
Okay.
yeah, thank you.
So I'm sorry, so just to clarify, what you're suggesting is that the condenser right now is going to sit in front of the lattice work, but is not going to have its own independent screening. It's relying instead on the screening provided by the fence
Well, it
on one
could,
side.
if I may.
You'll have to take the mic if you're going to go over there.
That's pretty cool.
That's one way.
And the podium.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the fence. The cemetery is on that side. This part of the house sticks out this way, and the condenser will be in here, where it's just not visible from any place other than if you're standing right about here, because I'm standing here looking at the condenser, and behind me is the garage. So if you were to look out the window here, you would see the garage. You cannot see that area. Does that work?
No, it's absolutely clear. So the only way that the unit would be seen is if that side fence ever came down.
Yes, and I'm going to replace it with a better fence. There will always be a fence there while I'm there.
Thank you for answering the questions.
Anybody else have any heartaches about this?
Thank you. All right, you want to deal with those?
Yeah, why not?
So 1, 3, 4, 5, 8, and 9 with the 2 stipulations I went over before.
I move that we approve those with the stipulations.
Seconded?
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Chair votes aye. Okay,
Okay, 64 Mount Vernon, so Reagan's out of this one, right? So real quick, this is the condenser with the louvered screen as the last sheet. So, sorry, I misspoke on the earlier one. I'll pull it up. Pretty,
Hi, I'm Erica Beer. I'm the property owner at 64 Mount Vernon.
yep,
The backside of our property abuts City Hall and the parking lot. And where this unit will be, it's a standard unit, will be behind the house. It's not really very visible from the street. My husband's offered to put a structure up around it, similar to that.
okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve it as presented.
Second?
all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Against?
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Erica.
Okay, number 6, 35 Bow Street for Rich. This is moving a condenser at 35 Bow Street from one location to where there's already existing mechanical equipment that was suggested is already screened. Screen looked hard to see to me, but let me get there. 35 Bow.
Getting there, that's half the problem.
All right. So,
It looks like a literal screen, like
yeah,
metal
exactly.
mesh.
Happened to it there. Right here. Anyway, they're moving it to where they have all the existing mechanicals.
Does everyone understand this? Somebody like to make a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Okay, we have that.
Has anyone ever seen a screen like that?
No.
No.
Very odd. Okay, we have 414 State Street to go. This is a mini split condenser with the conduit running up the outside of the building to the second floor. Didn't appear to me that as any screening was being suggested for the mini split. I don't know if anyone's here for that property. 414 State. Anybody? Okay. I don't know if anybody else saw a proposed screen or whether it needed it, but unfortunately this is all.
I see a plethora of gas meters
6.
Yeah.
and protecting posts. But I would also say, in all honesty, that the garbage cans are just as bad as anything else.
So is there already one chase going up?
No.
No.
What's that aluminum thing?
That's-
It's an escape ladder.
It
It's a collapsible
collapses.
escape ladder.
It was pointed out as a fire escape, but I didn't understand it.
It's very ingenious. Unfortunately, it's white.
Yes.
There've been a couple of places where I've seen
And
it
it
done.
looks like they are stipulating that it just be a brown plastic, so I would like
Yeah,
to
it would need to be
stipulate that it would be
painted.
It would
painted.
need to be painted, certainly. So
When,
what are suggestions for screening this thing?
when I walked the site, it looked like there's not a whole lot of room for screening, particularly
screening,
if
right.
it's going to be plowed.
There is a good picture here.
And
No, doesn't even look like, well, it might be 2 feet.
34 inches,
Yeah, to the edge of pavement.
the edge of pavement, yeah.
So does a fin make any sense, given I'm presuming the public way is on the left in the foreground, right? Does it make sense that, if there was a fin screen there, it would also help with the
You mean just
Trash
coming
cans.
out,
rubbish, yeah.
coming out square from the house?
Perpendicular, yeah.
Yeah.
Is, Is this a condo situation where
yeah.
the only,
You assume 6
only way to?
units.
Yeah.
Sure, a fin would at least provide a little bit of screening. I mean, it's still pretty open to the main street, but
From this angle, it is.
yeah, it's
but
definitely
Take a
visible.
couple more steps and you'd be behind the fin pretty fast.
Like a trellis or something? So,
Well, just like one side of a three-sided
little
screen,
panel.
still louvered,
yeah.
yeah. All right.
come up to the mud board.
It could actually even be a solid,
A
Yeah.
solid panel.
Yeah,
solid
could be,
panel
yeah.
because there's no ventilation.
Right.
It's-
Right. Well, do we want to stipulate that, and if they have a problem with it, they can come back?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
Sounds like a
maybe I
good
can
way.
then suggest they're painting the conduit, they paint the ladder. you know?
Every damn thing gets painted like the
Right.
thing behind it.
Right,
Yeah.
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 Okay, that's a good way of wrapping it up. Would somebody make that motion?
It says that in the application. He says he's going to paint it the color of the building.
But
Oh,
not
we
the fire
did say
escape.
that.
Okay, it's written on here, the brown plastic pipe, but I guess that's
Okey-doke.
just what is actually going to be installed.
What I see says brown on red building.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll
That doesn't seem
stipulate
like-
it so it's clear.
It'll be
Yes,
clear.
it's the application that says
Okay.
paint the fortress the same color as the building.
Okay.
All right.
Have to say, I'm not thrilled with putting conduit up the side of this house. This is such a beautiful structure. I'm struggling with it.
This is the situation that we've been in before, where we have condo units and you can't.
Without prejudice at all, I'd like to suggest that the applicant, I would like to see the applicant give it another whack. Maybe there's something from the back of the building. This is pretty right off the street. Anyway, that's my thoughts.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful building. I mean, it's just
Okay,
scrumptious.
I mean, we do have another week if, I can take that message tomorrow if other people
Yeah.
feel the same way to the applicant, and they could be on next week's agenda and be here and explain why this is why this is the right location.
Yeah, I mean, I can see from their plan, their sort of
Yeah.
schematic plan, why it needs to be where it is, because that's just the room that they want to target. But, I don't know.
I don't know, I'm looking at 6 gas meters and,
Yeah.
like we said, an aluminum escape ladder that's not painted and a pile of garbage cans in the driveway. I don't know.
Add to it.
How does, if somebody wants to make a motion, that's fine. We'll just vote.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we remand this to a revisit next week by the applicant.
Okay,
I second that.
okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Against? Okay, so they'll have to
Okay, one
come
left, 52 Prospect.
back. All righty.
All right, I think the applicant might be here. Yeah. The applicant is seeking a modification to the previously approved design for the project. I think there's 2 components to the request. One is that the siding, which, the siding, there are 3 options presented to you as a substitute. I guess the third option was maybe the original approval. The preference of the applicant is the first of 3 options, which is to use hardy plank on the entire house. The second option being hardy plank on all sides except for the front. And the third being, I think, only on the back. On the addition was the hardy plank, I think, but in the original approval. Right, but there was hardy plank, I think, allowed on that, on the addition, was there not? You don't think so? Okay. All right, so that's the siding piece. The second part of the request is that the applicant go from presumably a sash replacement to a new construction window because of some concern about the framing on the existing windows. Is that more or less correct?
Could this person come up and put his name in, please, and introduce himself? Wow. Persons.
Persons.
Then you all have to introduce yourself.
Okay. Tim Malloy, property owner.
Sue Malloy,
property owner?
Hubert Craw, the designer.
So the designer might tell why the replacement windows can't go in?
Okay, so right now we have replacement windows already in existing
Yes.
ancient sashes. The idea was to preserve those sashes, but
You need to just move to the
okay.
microphone.
Yeah.
The idea was to preserve the existing sashes, but upon closer inspections, it's pretty obvious that we will find some serious troubles there. And then went up into the attic, looked at another one of the existing window frames that was half rotted out. And that's the lower of the pictures. That's an existing window jamb from the 1800s that is pretty much dead right now.
Yeah.
And what the other photograph shows how bad those frames and casings already are and how leaky they are. So we're very likely to find rotted existing frames in there, so it makes it a whole lot more sensible to replace it with new construction windows.
Any questions?
So can you remind us, are the window trim that we see here on the upper picture, is that all remaining, or is that getting replaced as well?
No, that gets replaced. That was already a replacement at one point
Right.
and just didn't fit with the style of the house at all. So no, the window would get new trim anyway.
Okay.
It was sort of an oversight. We thought they were all new construction windows approved. And then we went to order the windows and realized for some reason, when we left here, it said replacement on the front, which I don't really know the difference. The windows are all going to look exactly the same, the new construction and the replacement. But
Well, I'd just say one of the biggest changes with new construction windows is you do have to tear all the casings off on the outside.
right,
You're probably going to tear all your interior casings, the trim
Yep.
off. Okay, so you're going to get right down to the studs. And then you're going to put these new construction windows on the sheathing, which is on the studs. And then you have to put new exterior casings and interior casings on and try to match everything up to what was there as far as the siding and all that goes. What I'm wondering is, how do we, this trim looks very old to me, these outside casings.
we discussed that when we were here last, and it was approved to replace that, replace the existing
Casing.
casing, and that wasn't original to the house. When the house was built, that, you had said that was a
Correct.
period time, that corner was even in the
That was
1800s.
probably installed somewhere in the early 20th century.
Yeah, or the late.
The existing one is just flat stock
Right.
with a band molding, band molding around.
They had an example of the original.
And that's what you're going to replace? with?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
That's right. My inclination, as far as the siding goes, I'll just say my inclination is to do the second option where you have wood siding, at least on the facade, just because you are right up on the street and people will walk by, and it really is a texture thing. To me, the Hardy board just screams it's Hardy board. To me it looks. So I think having that real wood siding on the facade is important.
I mean, we're trying to preserve, the house is aluminum now. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know who would ever put aluminum on the house, so, and preserving, we're not trying to preserve what's there now, because it's just awful.
No,
That's not the point.
The cost has become, and I know costs shouldn't always take, the cost has become astronomical for the project. I mean, we're paying more for the project than we paid for the home 10 years ago. And we'd like to bring it, make it look as authentic as we can with being able to sort of be able to afford to live there. And, when we bought the home years ago, I don't know, we talked about, we were under the impression that the wood was the same as the Hardy board, it was a wash. And then when we went to get the cost, we were just like,
Yeah.
you're kidding, it's like, so I mean, we'd like to do whatever we can to maintain it, but also be able to like live in the house, and we don't want to have to leave the aluminum on the front, because if we're forced to have to make a change, you know, we're gonna have to leave what we have, and it's just gonna look awful with the new construction and then the aluminum.
I'll just say, there's no doubt you guys are making a vast improvement to this house, and we all agreed on that with the previous application, so I think that's great.
Yeah, there was no picture.
This is just something that we generally ask for most applicants, where you have, you know, the front of the house or your building is really right close to the street. I mean, that's
Right.
we do ask for wood, at least in those cases.
Have you seen the mixture mix that, I mean, I've
Yeah,
heard they can match it pretty close, that it's not, I mean, because most of the house you don't see from the street, it's kind of, we're sort of down.
So it's just a two-story colonial on the front facade? That's what we're asking for? Okay, I'm just using some general figures here of 24 feet in height and 36 feet wide. I'm coming up with around 724 square feet without subtracting the windows and the door. Drops it way down. Your contractor has a difference in price between the cement siding and putting wood siding on the front of $6,000.
Yes, that's right.
Something's wrong.
That's right.
Something is wrong. That's well over $10 a square foot more. And the wood siding doesn't even cost $10 a square foot. But he's got that as $10 more than the cement siding. I just want to say, that just came and screamed out at me as I was a contractor and resided many houses. And this just screamed at me that something's wrong here. So I don't know if this is your best friend or what, but something's wrong. So I can't accept your money figures as a reason to not put wood siding on the front. That's just me. Does anybody else have any opinions? Yes, Margot, I'm sorry.
Yeah, for the same reason that Reagan says the front of the building, because it's so close to the street, should be wood, your sides are also very, very close to the street because, you know, it's not a big house. So where I could see using something else, you know, on the back in the new addition and on the back of the entire house, because there's the new addition, it's all one plane, so to speak. I really feel it's important to have the wood on the front and on the sides of the house. And I hope that somebody has done something wrong with their math so that what John suggests is possible.
Margot, I would also say that really makes sense, and it just slipped right by me, but the cement siding is usually 5 inches to the weather, if not 6 inches to the weather. And we would be requiring the wood siding to be in the 4-inch range, if not a bit less.
Why, when what's up there now is like super, like, I mean, it's probably 6 inches.
No, that's more 8.
That's aluminum siding.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't, yeah.
It's wrong for the house.
I don't care about what's on that aluminum siding. What, you know, when you're making a change, then all of a sudden your change has to come under review.
I just.
What was your comment or question? I'm sorry, I'm not tracking.
Your fiber cement siding
Yep.
is usually placed 5 inches to the weather.
Can I give you that? Can I bring that
Sure.
sample?
Okay,
Sure.
Down the end, yep.
it started down there. So are you saying that this is 4 inches to the weather,
That will be roughly 4 inches to the weather.
roughly? Would you be,
I don't have my.
well, the thing is if we make that a stipulation, and then your siding contractor goes along and puts it 5 inches to the weather, it's going to stop.
John, can I
Yeah.
speak to this?
Go ahead.
I think the front elevation is a good compromise. If you
I don't
go wood
understand this.
with the front elevation
Wait a minute.
and hardy plank on the sides.
Need for climate finance.
I disagree with some of your calculations there, John. I mean, when
Yeah.
you go to a box retailer and you pay $48 for a sheet of OSB that used to be, $10 a sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah, the prices are extremely high, and it's a premium to have anything built in this economic environment. Labor is off the charts. You're lucky if you can even get a decent contractor. So I think a good compromise is, like Reagan said, to do the front and to allow hardy plank on the sides, and I'd support that.
Thank you.
Thank
And to note too, this is not the only bid that we received. Certainly, we're getting multiple quotes, and there's been another builder who has had an even higher price for the siding.
And I would add, we are seeing an aluminum sided building getting special treatment. I would add that.
You mean if it has wood siding on the front?
Yes.
Well, Hardy board's a big upgrade from the aluminum.
Yes.
One
Yes,
further
Margot?
detail, from my recollection and the pictures we're seeing of your house, there are no corner boards in the front, is that right?
Oh, no, there will be corner trim.
Those are being added?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so we're not going to see wood siding and hardy board butt with each other?
About 4.5 inches apart each.
Okay.
On either side.
Okay. So was that it? Any questions, David?
I'm uncomfortable. I'm concerned about the money. I had almost an identical reaction to you and the cost figures. And I try to slap myself down that we're not supposed to be measuring what we're doing here by dollars and cents. But they included them to get us, and they did. The thing that's bugging me right now, because it's just a moment here, but that we have a building where we know precisely what the cornerboard sizes were, because they're still there. We can't see them. They're covered with aluminum. We know exactly what the coursing of the clapboards were when building was built. And probably have a fairly good idea of what the original window trim looked like that was there before this stuff was put on. Just guessing. Anyway, and we're not going to gain any of that information. It seems like whether we allow them or think we approve the use of a cementitious siding material, it ought to in some way reflect the history of the house, which is nothing to do with the material itself, but simply a measurement of the coursing. And it's there, and we just don't have the opportunity to see it. It bugs me that we're in this bind, that I'm making a decision that I wouldn't make lightly for a client if I still had them. And you don't do it with my hands over my face.
Did you notice the dotted lines on that piece of siding, that sample?
I don't have my scale with me, but I saw dotted lines. But I
Okay,
wasn't sure if they were nailing lines or exposure lines.
It seems to me that that's closer to 5 inches. Oh, okay, yeah, please.
Okay, yeah, great.
But I think that's a nailing line,
No, I think
not an
it's-
exposure
I
line.
think it's a line to bring the next row
It's
of
about
siding.
5 3/8, 5 1/4, yeah.
Okay. The reason I say that, David, if you were to put the siding down another inch, all of a sudden, that siding is, it could be like
pokes
this.
out.
It could come out.
Sure, I
It's
would
not
say
gonna-
however you put this stuff on, you'd have to put it on a cant strip for a starter. Very
Oh,
least.
you have to do that, yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. I'm
Torn.
bothered by the fact that
Yeah.
I have things that are being hidden from me.
Okay, well, so we have a
The-
problem.
The drawings also showed what we had found, that the bottom course,
Yes.
the original, is about 5 1/4 or 5 1/2. I forget the exact numbers. And that the next courses are 4-inch courses. Our builder here is very well aware of that. And I spoke with him this afternoon, and he's also very committed to give it as much of the original look as possible.
Okay. So I guess,
About the windows, are we good on that?
I mean,
I mean, you know.
They're all
we've
getting
already
new
approved-
trim, so
Yeah.
they're all getting new trim and everything, so
Making sure everybody's
I don't
good.
have a problem with the windows.
Yep, we've already approved the windows, so that's gone. So we have this siding situation, and we're going to see what happens here. Would somebody make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the windows and to approve option number 2 for the siding, with the hope that you guys are still going to keep looking and talking to people and hopefully figuring out, you know, if you can either figure out somebody who can give you a better price or,
We got 3.
That's
mean,
not
I
our
know,
Yeah.
but, you know, just to keep working towards the wood in front and hardy on the sides and making it match up to 4 inches as best you can. And if not, if that's not possible, you'll have to come back to us.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All righty.
That was a long,
Mr. Chairman, can you have her repeat the motion?
I'm sorry. So
Clarify.
the
Window.
approval of new construction windows and option 2 for the siding, so that there would be wood on the facade and hardy on the other sides.
With a reveal of,
4 inches, as approved in the drawings, the original plans.
Okay, that's pretty clear. So, all those in favor
I have a
say,
discussion, a question.
Sure.
Do we have examples of them meeting in other houses? I think they asked, how does it look? We do. I don't think, I don't know.
We do.
we have,
Bill?
Yeah.
we have
Have you been able
approved
to
that.
match it pretty close?
Yeah.
When you have a corner board,
Need the
Corner
corner
board,
board.
yeah, it's a secret, okay.
Okay, so all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
And-
Those against?
against.
Against? One against? And so that's it. Option 2.
Thank you.
good luck.
Thank
Yep,
you.
thanks a lot.
Is this done? This is done?
Okay, so we're into public hearings. Petition of Ronald and Rasa Stone, owners, for property located at 55 Gate Street, wherein permission is requested to allow renovations to an existing structure, replace windows, repair or replace siding and trim, repair foundation, replace bulkhead, and remove chimney. As per plans on file in the planning department, said property is shown on Assessor Map 103 as Lot 90, lies within General Residence B and Historic District. Who is here to present this?
Good evening, Ann Whitney here, I'm the architect for the project. What we're proposing here is to replace the windows with an Elevate, the Marvin Elevate. The siding and trim is in pretty bad disrepair, plus there are some structural issues that we're gonna shore up. Some of the siding has been replaced, and it's kind of patched together. So I think in looking at this carefully, it seemed to make sense to do a full replacement to, and we'll be matching, you know, to weather on the different facades. On this first sheet, you know, of the window schedule and just a couple different views. I didn't draw the front elevation just because we aren't changing anything. So, you know, the 5 windows at the top and the 4 on the first floor. If we go to the second page, it shows the Washington Street elevation. There are 2 one-stories. There's one-story bay, and then to the left, there's a one-story little bump out. The bay has a brick foundation, but it's really collapsing, so the windows on that side there have been completely distorted. It's only about this wide a window, and it's about 1.5 inches. So we're going to have to be doing some structural work there, replace the brick, set that foundation so it can go back up to square. The little bump out on the left didn't have a foundation. We're gonna have to put a new post in and kind of rework that. And I was thinking we would just do vertical siding. We might actually have some weather tighting behind that, but it's really hard to see. It's sort of tucked in that back corner. but we're going to have to be reworking that. On the main elevation, the windows will just be replaced. And then as you step back, the similar sized windows are in there, and I'm proposing to downside those because we're going to be re-siding to the 1'10" double hung. It felt like we didn't need, they're both bathrooms, and those large windows didn't seem to make a lot of sense to put back there in those situations. On the next page, which is the courtyard or right side elevation, there's a 6-foot fence that runs along Gate Street. And so this elevation, really just the upper part of it can be seen from the street. Currently, there's a 2-panel French door, patio door, what would be replacing with the 3-panel. The back of this property, which we'll see next, is really close to the property line, so they're minimal windows. So we're trying to get a lot of light into this side. The 3 windows, again, would be replaced. The current bulkhead there has just got a plywood cover. We'll probably shore that up a bit and get a painted metal cover for that. This is the chimney that we're proposing to remove. We're trying to open up that one space to have one larger room, and that's the one you see here on that view of that right side elevation. You can see it here, and then if you go to the next page, the Hancock Street, this back of this property is pretty visible from Hancock Street. So that, there's another chimney on the right side of this rear elevation that would be keeping. I've got the other thing that's happening with this, again, on this rear elevation, we have 2 pretty large double hung windows, and I want to downsize those to that C unit, 1'10". With the 2/2s, when you downsize, you don't put a mutton bar in. It's sort of the single unit is the pane size of, the wider double hung. And again, that's another bathroom and there. There's a tiny little sort of slide by in the kitchen, and that's the size of it, and that would just be replacing a window in that same location. We have some limitations because we're so close to the property line on this of what we can do for. If anything, I can downsize a bit. The lower left there, the condition of the exterior has got a million coats of paint, and the sills are pretty rotten. The windows inside have been puttied and patched. They're pretty much non-functional, and I don't think they're something that could be restored. So down below, this is not what we're going to be doing, but this is the Marvin Elevate. In a black situation, we're going to be using the stone white, but just to show what the profile looks like with a historic sill and a 5/4 flat casing. In this case, we would be matching the casing that's existing, but that just shows it's a fairly clean installation. And we'd be doing a stone white cladding for these windows. Are there any questions?
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Is there a good view of the 2 chimneys? I'm a little confused, and I walked by the house too, and it's a little bit confusing.
Yeah, it's hard actually it took me a while to get photos of the chimneys. If you go to 2 of 2, actually, yeah, there's 2 views of that chimney that's a little more hidden. That's the one that's on the main, on the right side of the main structure. So you can see it there and there.
Do you mean?
It doesn't go up super high.
See the page number again? I think 1 of 4 is what I can see it.
Oh, actually, one of four, you can only see the one we're removing.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
That's
Yes.
what we're,
But if you go to the next page, the other chimney is
The one you're
four
keeping.
that's on that. And then trying to see if there's another, yeah, that's
So-
the only.
You can,
So clarifying, the chimney you want to remove is the one that comes up through the back L, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
if you look at the 4 of 4, you see that back gable as it's viewed from Hancock Street, and then the elevation is showing that elevation, and it's a chimney that runs up on the left-hand
And
side
do
of
you-
that gable.
Do you know if the two chimneys date from the same time? Because they don't look like they're lined up when you look.
No, I don't think they do. I don't think they do. Because this little bump out was added on at some point. It's still pretty rough, primitive framing in the basement of that bump out, but that was definitely not part of the original structure.
So the original structure, as far as you know, only had one chimney, or when they put the L on, they took the chimney down?
It's hard to say. I think it's hard to say because there's been a lot of interior renovations. But I know that the one on the Washington Street side, there's an old surround for a coal stove. And that's inside the envelope of the existing. Actually, they both are in floor plan wise. So it's possible that they were both originally there, but they're different heights, which seems kind of funny. Worst case, if, you really don't want to lose this chimney, we'd be willing to do a faux chimney in this location.
Thank you.
is anybody else?
You have, in page 4 of 4, you have an inset showing a Marvin window with wood trim.
Yes.
Species?
Species of wood?
Yeah, do you know?
Oh, no, this was actually the builder that was his own house. Usually, we're using the Lifespan, which is a non-finger jointed, treated Marietta pine that's got 2 coats of primer. And then the sill often we'll do out of mahogany, just because it holds the paint.
The inset photograph shows this sill with ears, whereas in the house, it doesn't appear that there are
Yeah,
ears
no, I
on
did this
sills.
just to show mainly how the trim can relate to the window and the profile of the window itself, but we would be matching the no ears. I couldn't find an example that was exactly like this, but we would be matching the sill of the existing house, and it's a fairly wide band mold on the windows.
And you're thinking of you reusing a band mold of that size?
Yes.
Just a hint that you best communicate that to the guy that's making your sills so that they're wide enough for it to land on, because it's
Oh,
kind
no,
of-
definitely,
kind of big.
definitely.
All
You
right.
can see he did, the guy that did this one is also going to be doing that, and it's Joe Teravecchia, and he's done a lot of restoration, and, yes.
I can't help but wonder why, with an element the size of the triple slider that you're putting in, that it doesn't have a hood. Is that something that you thought about and decided for some reason that I don't
hood?
understand?
What do you mean?
Covering.
Seems kind of, I don't know, garage-like, without any.
So a
It-
little
it's
more
hard
of a
to-
head casing you're talking about?
Something. It
Yes.
seems like it needs something to give it
To
a
give
little
it a
bit
little
of
more
a
weight.
mass, something that, a little bit more than a 1x4 with a band on it.
Yep. 5/4, yep.
I would think that something there would be, would help a great deal, but also allow you an opportunity maybe to line the head of it up with the head of the window next to it.
Oh, I see, it's a little bit lower. Yeah.
Well, that's what it looks like here. I don't
Right.
know for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, I could do that, we could have a stipulation that I would, rework.
Perfectly fine with that coming back as an administrative.
A stipulation, rework just how that top trim is being done. Yep. How the whole surround of that door, we could get that as stipulation, that would be fine.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Reagan,
much.
I just want to say one thing, Reagan,
Okay, okay.
before you go. The widest band molding that is part of the Brosco catalog is a 1 3/4 inch. It's number 8469.
Yeah, but you
Does
can
that
get,
sound
you
familiar?
can get things made up, and
You are
usually.
going to have them made up?
Most likely, because with exterior, you want to be having them made out of not just pine.
Okay.
So they would get made up. And there's a couple different sources that we use for recreating that.
That's fine. Reagan?
Yeah, I mean, this application strikes me as getting rid of a lot of historic material. And, the wood clapboards, fine. I did go by and see, yes, there are a lot of replacement clapboards already and doing the whole thing, but you say repair, replace existing trim details, like, are you gonna strip all the trim off and replace it?
Not all the trim, but there's
Okay.
places where it's definitely in disrepair.
Okay.
And, but I think the siding, I think the window trim, because in order to do the windows, we're gonna need to replace the trim. And then the windows, the siding is, really a mixed bag of new and kind of patch things but in terms of the corner boards and the frieze and the roof trim, a lot of it's not in bad shape.
Okay.
But there's some of it that's going to have to be repaired.
I'm not totally comfortable with the replacement of all these windows. They all, I went by and they all look to be in decent condition. They're not original, obviously, because they're 2x2s, but they are historic. And I just,
they're not really repairable on the inside. There's a lot of things that they've used putty to fill in things.
Yeah.
You'd have to really just do all new sash, and that's really talking about all new windows. And they're kind of, none of them open. They've had weird kind of hardware put in with lots of screws
Sure.
and things. So
I'll say I've had all of our very similar windows restored, and if you get the right carpenter to do it, they can work very nicely with.
No, I've done that before
Right.
too, but
So
in these, yeah.
But what you haven't provided in this application is a lot of photos documenting this, so I can't say that I'm ready to put these in a dumpster. And I feel like with all new siding and new trim and new windows and everything, essentially this house is going to look brand new.
Well, it's not all new trim, and a lot of the siding's been replaced, at other times. And
Okay.
you can do new wood siding that will, not make it look like a new house,
Fine.
to weather and.
I
yeah.
don't want to argue
Yeah.
tit for tat about this. I'm just saying this is what my my sense of this application is going to be a very spanking new looking house. So I'll just say that I'm not comfortable with the replacement of the windows quite yet until you provide more information about them.
Okay. So, other opinions, questions?
When do you think those windows were put in?
They aren't. They don't have weights, but they don't have aluminum or, kind of the sash things that would have been in the last 50 or 60 years. So it's hard to say.
Yeah.
Yep. I think the weights probably were removed at one point, and then these new sashes were put in, but there's been a lot of leakage, and they're just the sashes themselves are in just very poor condition, and in a few places, especially the bay, where things are, there's a fair amount of interior structural work we're going to be doing, because the whole sort of middle of the house is kind of sinking down, which doesn't affect you guys, but it's affected a lot of, door jambs and windows, and things are really out of square in the house.
The city, I think, dates this house at 1790. Is that right? Do you think? David?
Seems early.
Yeah.
It's unusual to have that inset, front door opening. That might have been done later on.
1850 is the
Yeah.
1980 survey.
That's what it,
Okay.
that's what it seems to
The
me.
Greek revival.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that doesn't sit well with me. I'm looking at the siding, for instance, is very close together. It's not 1850s clapboard siding. The fact that there's no weights indicates to me that this house was not built for windows that have weights. In other words, the rough opening between the studs would have another 3 or 4 inches on each side for the weights to go up and down. So lo and behold, it's not there. So I think when this house was built, it probably had 6/6, or 9/6 on the first floor, 6/6 upstairs. I'm thinking this house is much older. I'm seeing a lot of Victorian details. Yes, it was given a little push around 1880 or something like that. But in my opinion, the house is old. And I'm agreeing with your comments concerning the siding and the windows. I'm not sure if these are the windows I'd want to see in there, though. Is there any other comments?
Should we have some sort of site walk or
We
somebody
could
go
have a
over there
site walk.
to check out the windows? That would just give me more information on them. I also have to say, I haven't been too thrilled with the way that the Elevate windows work, but look when they're installed, but that's just me.
Well, they're right on the sidewalk.
I know.
So could we plan a site walk? Is that something that would be good?
I live on this street, so I'm definitely for looking into this thing and being certain. I think we're swimming around with issues and unsolved things. I'd like to be certain. We should be able to pull that off.
Yeah, yeah. Can we get in the house?
Yes.
Even better.
The owner's here tonight, yeah.
Yes.
And I have access.
Brownies?
Very good.
Bottle Scott, no.
Yeah, we'll have a sugar high and we'll run all over this place.
Yeah.
So I guess that we need to meet up with Nick here and
Okay.
schedule
We'll coordinate that.
a site walk and
Motion to continue.
Do you,
I'd like to
is it okay to
postpone it.
continue, or do you need
Continue.
continue.
any of the other pieces?
I think it makes sense just to continue, because otherwise, it's, this is the bigger issue. And
Chairman, I move that we continue this to next week, certainly.
The May.
Till May.
Till May.
it would have to go to May.
Yes.
All right.
Yep, because that would give some time to
Yeah, and
schedule
after we've
something.
had the site walk.
I'll second that.
Okay, all right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Against?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Those chimneys were original. That's just the way that was built. It was a 2 chimney, single room deep.
They're not, I'm interested to see it. I want to go see it.
Okay, so we've moved on to a petition of 531 Islington Street, Portsmouth LLC, owner for property located at 531 Islington Street, which we all know as Dunkin' Donuts, wherein permission is requested to allow renovations to an existing structure, new signage, siding, and other exterior improvements as per plans on file in the planning department. Said property is shown on Assessor Map 157 as Lot 5, lies within the Character District 4L2 and Historic District. Who here is to present this? Am I not seeing something? Is anyone out there with Dunkin' Donuts? No? Yoo-hoo.
Over to look.
Let it be said that I didn't make that funny noise.
Yeah. Foyer, but.
It would have been more of a yoo-hoo. Rich, I'm sorry, man. My mind just goes blank.
Yeah, no. I know you know me.
Well, I do.
All right, I move that we continue this application to next month. Next month, because we have a full agenda next week.
Yeah, we do have a full agenda, so it's going to have to go to
second
May.
that.
Yeah, right.
This is not our fault.
Picture of the exterior?
Dunkin'
Would it help to
Donuts.
comment on the application so that they be prepared?
Say it again?
Would it help to make some comments so that if they watch this, they'll be prepared for that next hearing?
I'm not really sure
know
if
that
we can
it's
do, we
Why
would
don't
have
you
to.
pass them on to me, and I'll
We would have to
I'll
open
take
up
care of
the
that.
public
Okay?
hearing.
Just shoot me an email with any suggestions, and I'll relay those.
Yeah, it's
All
like,
right.
they're making the place even funnier.
It's been seconded.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, those against? So, moving right along,
That's a shame. I was looking forward to that.
petition of David and Ellen Cozell, owners, for property located at 75 Gate Street, whereas permission is requested to allow renovations to an existing structure, remove cedar shake siding and replace with cedar clapboards, and repair or replace the existing trim as per plans on file. The planning department said property is shown on Assessor Map 103 as Lot 93, lies within the General Residence B and Historic District. Welcome.
Hi,
Please
my name is Jeff Halderson. I'm representing the Kozels.
And I'm Dave Kozel. I'm the owner of 75 Gates.
Okay, welcome.
Okay. Can I bring this up? It's just a picture.
Sure.
Down there.
We're running on a lighter
You had to
budget.
sell it.
Yeah. The new council.
They sold it.
So if you know Gate Street at all, you all know this house. It was built in 1933, and it's referred to as the candy store. It's in the last since 2002. It's gone through 4 owners. It's had a lot of individual touches done to it, and it's really non-conforming already to the area. To be more specific, the Kozels can't go down the street without, and somebody finding out that they live at 75 Gate Street and somebody telling them how they need to renovate the front of their house. That's just a constant. What they have asked permission to do is they want to remove the cedar shakes on the front of the house and trim it out and put up clapboard. The clapboard we'll be using as far as construction goes. I've been working with a company, I'm sure you guys are aware of, the Mill Clapboard, the Ward Clapboards out in Vermont. And, I've done a lot of clapboard, but he knows a lot more about it than I do. So he's been recommending what to use in a historical area like that. The Kozels also hired a person to come out and give us some advice on, what would be appropriate in a historic area like that. So, things that, I was unaware of, doing scarf joints and things like that. If you look at the picture in front of you, between what Ward offers for clapboard and the lengths that they offer, we don't run into any butt joints or scarf joint situations like that. So basically, what we'd like to get permission to do is to put on the vertical grain clapboard from Ward, and to use Windsor 1 pre-primed and fix the siding that's already there. The siding there needs to be cleaned up, no matter whether we go with fixing it with clapboard or fixing it with the cedar shakes. It's just been, it hasn't really been very well maintained. The whole house, in fact, has been personalized, and the last people that occupied it really didn't take care of the house. So the Kozels purchased the house. It's their retirement home. They moved up here, and they came and visited Portsmouth quite often and decided this is where they wanted to retire to. So they've purchased this house, and they've been doing a lot of work to try and just clean up the property in general. There was fiberglass doors on it. We came to you, and you gave us permission to replace those, and just the property in general has been neglected. So we've hired a company to come in and clean up, the windows and just everything in general. The one thing that we would like to do is to try and make the front of the building fit a little bit more with the property. The bump outs on the property, the bay windows, everybody wants those cut off. But realistically, that's not a possibility the way the house is constructed. The house, if you've been through the house or you've been in the house, you know that the house is kind of a modge podge of whatever things that people could find when they were building it at that time. The overall construction of the siding, I mean, it was just kind of thrown up there. So what I've worked with and talked with Pat from Ritchie Lumber before, we want to do a modern underlayment, something that's appropriate for watershed. So a modern underlayment with a historic covering. We're going to have to go, as you all know, that there's a lot of different problems with resources right now. I spoke with the gentleman at Ward today as far as what's available now. He says that he can accommodate the 4-inch, anywhere from 4 to 4.25-inch reveal with what he has in stock, southern yellow pine or Douglas fir. We can't really control what we can get, but as far as historically goes, I mean, I could search around and find anything else. But the person that I had come and go over the whole process of historic restoration and historic siding, because honestly, it was new to me. I've been building a lot. I've been doing a lot of new construction, but we want to make sure that since we're doing such a major change, that we're going about it appropriately. So we had somebody with a lot more historic, knowledge of siding, somebody that worked predominantly in the historical area. He came out, and this is the company that he referred us to, and this is the company that has a proper supply of quarter sawn wood. It's a bit more expensive, but we're not looking to get off the shelf Home Depot, cedar.
Could I interrupt you for 1 second? So you say remove cedar shake siding. This is just on the front?
Just on the front.
And replace with cedar clapboards?
Right.
Okay, so now all of a sudden you're talking about quarter sawn siding, you're talking about Douglas fir, you're talking about, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about what was currently available to us today to purchase from this company.
From Reese or from?
No, from Ward Clapboards out of Vermont.
Okay.
They mill historical clapboards.
Right. So that's what he's proposing.
So are these historical clapboards, are they feather edged?
Yes.
And they're sharp edged on the other end?
Correct.
Okay. Just like the ones
So
you used to get at
it's a
Littlefield
company
Lumber.
that was referred to us that specifically makes.
Yes, we understand.
Just a second, though. I've got to say,
yeah.
if the building was built in 1930, I would have said 1920. Then a historic clapboard would be a clapboard that matched a building that was built in 1920, wouldn't it? I mean, using some sort of word to provide something, I think you should get off the track because it's not helping at all. The question is whether or not we will approve putting clapboards in the building, I think.
Correct.
Yeah, so my,
Don't you want to know what we're replacing it with?
no,
Yeah, well, we do.
So
Might.
Yes.
My question is, what's underneath the clapboard, the shakes? Have you taken them off, and is there clapboard behind there? Is there any picture, any historic document that you can give us that tells us that before this was put with shakes, that there was clapboard and corner boards and all this sort of stuff on this building?
Before it was what it is now, it was a storefront, so it was glass.
Even the siding was glass?
Second floor.
The second floor was cedar shake,
There you go.
Okay.
and the bottom was
Glass on the street
Glass on
and
the street.
concrete block on the sides.
right.
Okay. So I think what David's trying to get to is that the history of this building doesn't go back beyond 1920 or whatever the date is, and it doesn't have a history that says clapboard. It was shake. And I apologize that you have the one odd building on the street, but you should be proud that you have the one odd building on the street. It's different. It's its own building. It's its own history, surrounded by a bunch of other buildings that are all the same. So I just am questioning the change of the history of this building, to change it from what it was, a 1920s infill candy store, to something that's trying to look like the federal houses on either side of it, that it's not.
So when we purchased that, I appreciate that.
You have to get closer to the microphone, please.
In your name.
And your name again, please. It goes out to the,
Oh, okay. My name's Dave Kozel. So we love Portsmouth. That's why I decided to retire and move up here. And we like the street. We like the historic district. And when we were looking at property, we came across this property, and the first thing we noticed, the facade of 75 Gates was different than any other facade on 75 Gates. So it stood out. So our way of thinking is we would like to have the facade look similar to the facades of the other homes, and I recognize that they're more historical and older in nature. And that's really it in a nutshell. As Jeff mentioned, the house, we've put a lot of money into upgrading the insides and of the property, both front and back. And all we would like to do is, and I appreciate representing the historical history of this property. That being said, it sticks out from our standpoint in terms of Shakes versus Clapboard for any other house, on 75 Gate Street. And we would prefer to have the Shakes be replaced with Clapboard siding.
That being said, we are asking for permission to do something outside of the norm. We understand that it is, it's probably the youngest building on the road. But when we do go, if you do approve this and we do go ahead with it, we want to make sure that we're going ahead and using the proper materials, regardless of whether it was originally on the property or not. We don't want to just grab something from Ritchie or Home Depot and put it on the house. We want to put something nice on.
Okay.
You're fine.
I'm just trying, that was a lot of research to try and figure out.
It was, and I appreciate that you did all of that background work for sure. I'll just say, do you need to keep going?
Finish up.
I was just going to say that when I see the building, what stands out to me, other than the protruding windows, which is obviously very, very different, is that it's the only non-painted, non-weathered building on that streetscape. So my question is, have you considered what it would look like if you kept the historic Shakes, but you painted it? Because you can paint whatever you want. You don't need our permission for that.
We have.
Yeah.
Okay.
And and that is an option. That is our backup option. Okay. Regardless, like I said, the front of the house is going to need some serious attention. That being said, we'd also like to give them an opportunity to present to you what they'd like to do.
Wait a minute. John? Yes? I just would like to say that if you look at these cedar shingles, they're not 10, 15 years old at the most. These shingles these are not historic shingles. We're not looking at something that was done in the 40s or the 50s or the 60s. These are new shingles that were just put on.
These are Class C, Class B shingles.
Which is not the best shingles. But so I'm just saying this is not a historic fabric. You may happen to like wood shingles on the front.
I'm just asking for.
But I don't see any precedent for them being on here, and I don't see that we should go back to cement blocks on the storefront again either.
I'm sure they're still there.
Probably. I strapped them and went right over them. I just wanted to get that out. Yes, Reagan.
So to finish what I was saying, yes, thank you for going through doing all of this research and finding great clapboards. I think quality clapboards are a wonderful thing to find. I'm not sure, I don't know that I can say that it would necessarily be inappropriate to put clapboards on the front of this building. I think that it would be very interesting to do a little bit more research and see if you can find any really early photographs or if it has changed at all. I mean, we have a photograph from the 80s from the Portsmouth Advocates, but if it was just to see what it might have originally looked like.
It was originally the second floor was
Was always,
pretty much what
sure.
it is now.
Fine.
So if you're asking historically, they've always been
Okay,
a
fine.
cedar shake on the front.
I guess my only comment was if you want to do the clabbers, there's really no need to have scarf joints and things like that. This is, that's a detail that really belongs on a really old historic house. I think that it could be much simpler on the front since this is a modern application of clapboards to the house. That's all I was going to say is that you probably don't have to go through all of that effort.
Martin, did I see your?
Yes.
Yes.
What is this? What's this?
That's a rendering of what the house will look like.
That's a rendering, okay.
That's a rendering of what we would like to do. This is a rendering of what we would like to make the front of the house look like. The
Okay.
trim that we want to apply, where we want to trim.
Asked and answered. The exposures, I mean, it sounds like you want to fit in because you're taking heat from the unfriendly people on Gate Street to fit in. Is that the case? No, I'm kidding. He's from Gate Street.
Yeah.
Trick or treating there.
It doesn't look as good as what you have now. I mean, I've never seen a presentation of a facade that didn't provide a picture of that front facade. So I wish you had given us a full picture of the facade in the package. But I think what you have here now is very acceptable. This is less than, I would say. And you're also showing it your rendering shows it going down the side elevations? I can't read, so I have
No,
a really
we're
bad.
not doing anything different to the sides.
I have a really bad one.
Sheets are on the side. Yeah.
So I'd say you have a lot of latitude, given the age of the building, but I'd reconsider this. I really would.
So, is there anyone in the public would like to speak about this? I'm going to close this, and I'm looking for a motion.
I'm not sure that we.
Let's have a motion. Let's see what happens. You can make the motion any way you want.
Or not.
Or not.
I'll make a motion to not deny this
All right,
request.
we have a motion to deny on the table. Would somebody second that motion to deny?
God, it seems so cold, doesn't
I
it?
know, I'm sorry,
You
I'm
are so
sorry. I
cold.
am, I'm awful.
I will second that motion.
All right, so we're going to have a
Roll call vote.
roll call vote, I'm afraid.
Yeah,
And
can I comment on the discussion part here?
We've been through a lot of comments on a simple part right here. Can we
Yes,
just
this
vote
is
on-
the discussion part of our vote, of the motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did you second, or?
No.
Oh, David did.
David did.
Okay.
Margot,
Who's going to
do the findings of
defend this motion? Margot and David.
Mr. Chairman, in the process of defending the motion, I'll say that any clapboard attempt at changing this building's period in time, I think, is completely contrary to the issues that the Historic District Commission is trying to promote. We aren't trying to redress or recreate history. We allow buildings and their owners to move through time in a logical fashion. In a reverse fashion is a rare occurrence, and this has no history to revert to. So I think it's an inappropriate thing. I think the appropriate siding for the upper floor of this building is shingle. It is shingle. I think that's all we need. If they wanted to change the pitch of the roof so that it had a pitch of a 18th century building, if they wanted to take the bay windows off the second floor of the building so that it looked like an 18th century building, if they wanted to put the door in the center of the facade like an 18th century building, then we could have an 18th century conversation. But to try to redress this, I think, is wrong, and I don't enjoy saying no to people specifically.
So as long as we do a whole renovation to appeal to you and what is what I'm saying?
Not
That's
necessarily.
almost
He's not
word for
saying
word, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Got to vote.
No, I just want clarification. So as long as, if we were to spend a lot more money to make it look older, that'd be fine?
It would change the conversation.
Okay.
But to
I
take
just
this thing.
wanted clarification.
It'd be like putting
This is
racing
a
slicks
board.
on a Volkswagen.
And we're going to vote on
Yeah,
this.
no.
This is an opinion here.
I
All right,
just
he's
wanted-
defending his motion, so now we have to vote on this motion, and then, who knows?
John, Reagan would like to speak to the motion. Is that okay?
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate the motion. I just am hoping that the applicant doesn't see this as a full stop to his project. There are more things, I think, in other ways you can go forward with this to hopefully appease or hopefully get to whatever finish is something that you like.
They're all happy. Would anybody else like to speak to this?
I would. I'd like to speak to it. I think that, like I said, there's latitude towards this, and the idea that we're going to tell you you can't do this, I don't think is in the proper spirit of what this board represents. We should have reasons why we're denying you, and it just sounds like that. We're denying you because we feel that we know better than you. And so I'm going to vote no to this motion because I think that this is why I sit on this board to make sure people don't decide what other people should, that people's property rights are respected and protected.
So are we still in discussion?
Since you made the motion, you have to defend it with our criteria or findings of facts.
I'm looking at the findings of fact. It's a little bit difficult because it's not often that we go with a denial. And the reason I made the motion is because I wasn't hearing the applicant come back with any suggestion of different ways that they would want to do it, or could we come back and, present you with something else? And nobody was making a motion in the positive, so I moved ahead. I feel, as David suggested, that we are supposed to preserve the integrity of the district. This building is not a 1700s or 1800s building. It is a 1900s, 1910, 20 building.
1933.
33. If we are to preserve the integrity of the district, we have to also look at the anomalies and preserve the anomalies, because this building from 1933, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, is going to be as valued by those people in the future as we value the building to the left and to the right today. And it makes up the fabric and the character of the district. To change it to something completely different from what it is, to me, is against what the historic district is about. So I don't believe that approving this specific request to change to clapboards and to put on corner boards is in keeping with preserving the integrity of the district. And that is why I'm making the suggestion that we deny this.
Okay.
Call it.
So, Dan,
So I voted to support the denial. Is it a yes or no?
It's an aye.
In favor.
Yes.
I'm in favor, yes.
okay, Dan.
May I make a comment as well?
No, at this point you can't because the motion's been made. I'm sorry. Martin,
Well,
are you supporting this motion?
I am not supporting this motion. I feel like we too harshly jumped to a conclusion.
Yeah.
And I don't like the tone of how we are shutting down somebody's, I think a good argument's been made. And no, I'm not supporting this at all.
Okay, Reagan?
Yes.
Okay, and,
I'm going to vote no.
okay.
Yes.
Margot, you're a yes.
Yes.
And there's 4 there, and the chair votes no. So it's 4-3. We're denying your application to put on the wood siding at this particular.
Unless, of course, we decide to spend a lot more money and make it look like 18th century.
I don't think that that is what the board is saying. Somebody just suggested that. And I don't think we want to see a building made artificially into a 18th century building either. I think if you had listened to some of the comments, that you might be able to just get away with doing your improvements to the first story and then maintaining the shingles on the second story as they appear to have been appropriate at the time to the second story. I believe that's what I heard. Does that sound about right? So that would mean that it's only the first story that you have to think about. So that's where
For
we're
your time.
sitting right now. We're not telling you you have to come back and with $100,000, improvement to the front here. We're not
Okay.
saying that.
Thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, well, sorry if I stepped on any toes. This was a little contentious. It still is. Okay, so request to postpone.
Oh, we didn't vote on that at the beginning. We should probably stay
Yeah,
there.
this is the petition of Nuremberg Family Revocable Trust for property located yet again at 189 Gate Street. Am I misreading all of these things? No.
This is a request to postpone.
Postponing it?
What's that?
You're postponing
No,
189?
No, we do, yeah, was postponed on the,
Yeah.
At the beginning?
Did you say
It was
we
supposed-
didn't-
I- we
for
didn't-
the next one? You didn't postpone it.
it was postponed on the agenda that I had.
Understood, but we have to
just haven't
postpone it.
voted on the
That's-
postpone.
that's
Oh,
the
I'm
request,
sorry, I'm
yeah.
Okay.
Just a moment.
Move to
Just a moment.
postpone?
I think I should read this.
Yes.
Okay.
You have to read it.
Wherein, I don't want to read it.
You have to.
Wherein permission is requested to allow new construction to an existing structure, construct new addition to an existing garage, as per plans on file in the planning department, said property is shown on Assessor Map 103 as Lot 6, lies within General Residence B and Historic District. Okay, is there a motion to postpone?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
We're postponing to next month?
Yeah. Now, we have petition of Sherry A. Holmes and Yvonne P. Goldsberry, owners for property located at 45 Richmond Street, wherein permission is requested to allow the demolition of the existing garage and rear one-story addition on the existing home, new construction to an existing structure, construct a two-story rear addition, a one-story side addition, and a dormer addition, and the construction of a new detached garage and screen house as per plans on file in the planning department. Said property is shown on Assessor Map 108 as Lot 18, lies within the Mixed Research Office and Historic Districts. And who here is to present this, Ann?
Good evening, Ann Whitney again. This proposal, as you see here, was approved in March 10th of 2021, and I missed the deadline for my letter to ask for an extension. We have a builder lined up for March of 2023, and it just sort of fell through the cracks, so I will re-present here very quickly, and the first sheet here.
So this is just an extension?
No.
We're asking for,
request it on time.
I forgot to put my letter in to ask for the extension, and I missed the deadline. So basically, the
Okay.
approval has expired as of March 10th.
At
And
heart,
so-
it's an extension, but.
In heart, it's
actual-
an extension, but because the actual date expired, I should have done this in February, I need to re-present and get this approval once again.
So before you begin, Ann, are there any changes
There
from
are
what we
absolutely no
approved?
changes.
Okay, just so that we're not listening for anything in particular.
Nope,
Okay.
nope. In
Have
fact,
there been any changes in the neighborhood?
have there been any changes in the
To the
neighborhood?
butters?
Nope.
So the circumstances, the playing field, all the same?
Basically, is exactly the same. It's just taking forever to get builders lined up, and then I let this one fall through the cracks. I'm usually pretty good at getting my letters in. So basically, it's a New Englander. Site plan's fairly explanatory. We're replacing windows, bringing the front entry back to the two-door entry with a transom light above, reorienting the stairs so you're, right now the stairs just go right down into the street and they're really steep, and the site grade, climbs the hill, so by putting the stairs off to the side, I have few of them, and we're able to have a landing instead of just a free fall set of stairs. On this, you can see the existing garage. We're going to be taking that down and doing a single bay garage with a L extension. Again, on this 2 of 8, there's a bump out, 1-story bump out on the right side with a new bulkhead. That'll be new foundation in that location. The garage just has a single door, a couple lights, and single window for light above. On the east or right side elevation, you can see the dormer is going to have 2 sets of casement windows. We're going to change that triple window that's on the first floor on the left side just to a couple of double hungs with a heavy mullion between. We're shifting the window on the right side and then adding 2 awning windows for light. That's in the kitchen area. To the left of that, you can see the 2-story addition with the 1-story protruding. It's partly sort of a sun space and partly a porch, open porch. And that over, you can see the photo of the existing 1-story that we'll be tearing down on the upper right-hand side. The garage is sort of going to be in 2, on the driveway side, and then it's going to go up several steps. The little L of the garage goes up several steps to, take into consideration. There's a big grade change, and if we go back to the site plan, the stone wall, I'm kind of raising the grade a bit along the edge of the house with a stone wall along the driveway. So that sort of L of the garage is going to be half a level above from the main level of the garage. I'm starting to lose my voice. Okay, the rear elevation, we're going to be matching the pitch and form of the existing New Englander with this 2-story addition. And then you can see the rear elevation of that porch looking through into the sunroom beyond. Oops.
Careful, Ann.
Yeah, I'll turn that. The left side elevation, we're going to be adding those 3 J windows sort of in the stairway to let some light into that side, replacing the 2 windows that are existing there, and then you can see the addition, some double hungs and a small awning window in a bathroom on that side, that K window. I'm going to keep the corner board to give a sense of the old and the new, but that's all in the same plane. Final page shows more detailed elevation of the garage where it steps up with the wall, and then there's a greenhouse that's going to be attached at that upper yard level to the garage. On the east right side, a row of some transom awnings, and the rear elevation, single double hung, and another one of the L awnings. So that's pretty much it. I've got some other window details and the porch railing detail, window schedules. And the last page shows an example, not exactly, of what we're looking at for the greenhouse. Are there any questions? Thanks.
The only question I had, Ann, is the greenhouse details, were you intending to come back with those later?
Yes, I think that was one of the stipulations. Yeah, we have a company that we're using, but yeah.
Anyone else? Are there any comments? Have there been any comments from the neighbors concerning the greenhouse?
Nope.
Obviously, there's no one here.
Nope.
It was approved with a public hearing
It's
before.
approved, yep. We had no opposition when we first brought it through.
Public? Yeah, public? Is there anyone out there in the public that would like to make a comment about this?
I had a question for Ann.
Yes, right, this is the
And
time.
on sheet 5 of 8, I see the outline of a stair, interior stair. Does that conform to code, or is it too tall for?
5.
Looks like pretty tall without landing.
5.
Oh, on that west side elevation?
Yes,
Oh, no, the rise run is fine on that.
it is?
Yeah, yep. 7.5, as I recall, yeah.
No, I just meant the number of risers.
Oh, the stair on the inside of the
yes,
house?
yeah.
Well, it's an existing stair that we're not going to be changing. It's
okay.
actually a fairly comfortable stair.
Yeah.
But, no, I just, that's more a referencing. I should probably
All right,
get rid of that
yeah.
for HDC, but for me to,
If it wasn't you, it would not conform to code, though.
it would not conform to
Right.
code like most stairways in the south end. Yeah,
Definitely don't touch it then.
no.
Okay, so there's nobody in the public, so would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll move that we approve this as presented with the stipulation that they come back with the greenhouse plans for admin approval.
Second that.
I don't remember what our findings of facts were before, but certainly the conservation and enhancement of property values, and it's consistent with the special and defining character of surrounding properties. It's a design that fits in well.
Okay, so all those who approve,
Yes.
say aye.
Aye.
And those against?
I'm going to vote against. I did before. I want to be consistent.
Very good. Okay, so you have your approval.
I'll remember to get my letters in.
Yeah. Thank you, Ed.
COVID, yeah.
All right, Ed. Petition of Courtyard Condominium Association owner for property located at 50 Daniel Street, wherein permission is requested to allow renovations to an existing structure, several exterior modifications. As per plans on file in the planning department, said property is shown on Assessor Map 106 as Lot 17, lies within the Character District 4, Downtown Overlay, and Historic Districts. And who is presenting this?
Jeff Whitmore for Courtyard Condominiums.
All righty, what do you got?
We have a front facade that has several issues. We have a lot of rot. We have a lot of water infiltration. We just have a significant amount of degradation on the whole front facade. We had to also do something similar on the alley side facade, probably about 4 years ago. And so that was more utilitarian because we were required to use hardy plank due to the close proximity to the building next door. Our plan here is to use a more appropriate clapboard on the front, cedar, and then retrim corner boards, freezes, trim around windows, crowns. The crowns are all split and pretty much broken away. replace the copper roof, the break roof that sits above the storefront, and then retrim the storefront windows as well.
Did I just ask you, is this the building that was burnt severely?
No, that's next door, so facing it to the left.
Okay. So questions, comments about this project?
What are you doing with the sign bracket?
Sign bracket, we're going to maintain, restore, and put back up in the place that it resides now.
Okay.
Likewise with the barn-style lights that hang over the sidewalk, those are going to be removed, or restored, and replaced.
Looks like there's not too many changes that we have to
No, it's,
argue about here.
Most of this replacement in kind?
Yeah, most of it is. Any other comments? So the trim would all be the same size, apparently, corner boards?
Same dimensional size, yes. We'll use 5/4 trim on windows and on corner boards to make sure that it protrudes enough on the siding itself. We'll use historic sills on the windows. My only question, I was asked by some of the owners today, I don't know if anybody on the commission has looked at the windows that are there, but they're actually vinyl replacement windows. And some of them need replacement. They've, decayed to the point where they're not functioning properly. And I don't know what your inclination is on that. It doesn't show on the application, so I don't know if that's a separate application.
I'm afraid
would
at
be
this
different.
point,
You'd
it
have
would be
to,
a separate application.
Again, it just came up, so I just thought I'd mention it just to see if there was any discussion.
Yeah.
Green Mountain.
Yeah, it would be nice to see those replaced, something, a quality replacement window like Green Mountain or something like that. They're very good windows. They have windows that are wood on the outside that can be painted.
Yes.
But that would definitely be a separate application.
So could I just ask a question while I'm here? In that case, is it preferred, or is it a mandate that it has to be a wood window?
preferred.
Yeah, it's just preferred.
Okay, because I'm just noticing clad across the street on the project that's going up right now.
Yeah.
That's a brand new building.
Again, I'm not.
That's a brand new
I
building.
think
a
they're
new
clad on the
I understand
building.
it's brand new, but again.
There's a variety, but in our guidelines do ask for wood windows as
Okay, good to
preferential.
know, just so we can make sure we're coming back with the correct application.
Are we at all, do you know that the sizes of the windows, well, this is an old building. It doesn't really come off that way.
No.
I don't know this for a fact, but I believe that Celia Thaxter, this was her parents' house, I believe. Or at least she was born here, I believe.
Plaque. There's a plaque on the
There is a
front.
plaque?
Plaque on the building.
Probably right about that.
Yeah, probably are.
And, in general, I'd say the building looks like it's from the 1810, 1815 sort of moment, which makes it a survivor, thinking of the fires and whatnot. I'm sitting here listening to your application where you're going to redoing all of this stuff, and everything's going to get attended to, and yet nowhere in this does it improve, my words, the historic nature or presence of the building on the street in our fine city. And I wonder, honestly, sitting here, if there was a 6/6 sash on the third floor of the building when it was built. It seems like an awkward federal facade, without even getting into how misappropriated the spaces on the first floor are, and how dated and tacky the full window facades are. And I wonder if this isn't a time to do a little rethinking and maybe shifting the building's participation in our community a little bit. I'm not really excited by, if we're going to
understand.
replace every damn thing on the building, why have it look like this?
I think if you look at the proportions of the windows that I might think that the second-story windows are the problem, that they were shrunk down.
I agree.
And that they were much larger, because there's an abnormal amount of space between the second and third-story windows. But,
Just my question, I guess, in large is are we missing an opportunity, just walking away? This is like leaving 3 men on base, you know?
yeah, but we're not missing the opportunity.
We can't necessarily ask them to change their design. This is what
No,
they're
but you-
bringing to us.
But what you can do is say, no, it's a way. But some people don't like doing that because it's too
I
heavy-handed.
think it's bad to do that
Yeah.
for the board.
I mean,
That doesn't really meet our review criteria.
Sure.
it's not
Could I
inappropriate.
speak-
It's not inappropriate what you're
Yeah,
doing,
go
so.
ahead,
Sorry,
please.
sorry to interrupt, but
Please.
could I speak to the windows a little bit? I mean, part of the problem with those windows is the fact that they're vinyl replacement windows.
Yeah.
So automatically, the size has shrunk. So it proportionately, scale, it's all wrong. It doesn't mean that the window wasn't, a taller, grander window back when it was originally built.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter, if those windows, even in the proportions that they are now, if they were full-size wood sash windows, they'd be significantly better looking, if you will, and more, from my standpoint, a little more historically appropriate. I understand what you're saying, Mr. Adams, but, at some point, there's a limited amount. The people in the building want to do right by the city and make sure that the building looks great and get it as close to historically appropriate as we possibly can without recreating the wheel again and just essentially rebuilding the building.
Oh, I'm sorry, Martin.
I can,
You're silent.
I can accept everything as a replacement in kind except for the covered brick with paneling at the base. What are you intending?
The intent there was, the brick is in rough condition. It was a facade, and again, I'll defer to you people for sure, but the plan was to panelize it, to make it a little more historically appropriate. It would be wood panels, framed wood panel in the center with a molding around each panel. So it would have some real oomph to it and a little more historically inclined than the brick. The brick harkens back to early 20th century to me.
Well, the brick is a natural material and it's you'd be covering it up, and like I said, I could support everything except that. Maybe we just pull that portion out. Okay. This is,
Yeah. These are bigger.
I would have liked to have seen more actual photographs of what's there to make a decent judgment.
So the intent is to bring
Yeah.
this down, to follow the window layout, and to bring panels down that would follow the casing and have a frame around it. And as I said, it would be a wood panel. You'd still see the bottom of the brick, because you need that for code. You can't bring the paneling all the way to the sidewalk.
I just think you got to bring the goods.
Oh, you can't. Yes, Karen.
Yeah, just looking at the size of the individual windows on the first floor, I don't know how you would really make the panels look good, because I think it would enhance the difference in the size of the windows that are there. They're not all equal, so I would leave the paneling off as well.
That's fine. If that's the inclination, that's fine.
Excuse me, but if you would like to approach the podium, we have something to show you here.
This is the amazing,
Our technology person.
I'm not a technology person. I looked up on the Athenaeum, so there's a historic photo of the building.
Yeah.
And just to go back to the windows, so the second floor windows were
Were a
much
lot
bigger,
longer.
and the
Yeah.
third floor windows were much shorter.
Yeah.
They're
That
probably
makes a lot
what
more
they are
sense.
now, with the proper
Possibly,
window in it.
yeah. So the
'cause
second
they
floor
are
windows are
shorter.
bigger. Yeah.
Right now, they're about 48 inches tall,
Mm-hmm.
and the lowers are about 4'6".
Yeah, so probably, this photograph, and there might be more at the Athenaeum.
Mhm.
You could even zoom in and get a better quality and
To see
look
what-
at the storefront there,
Yeah.
because it might help inform a little bit of the design too.
Again, we wanted to clean up the
Yeah.
storefront because it's a mishmash of
Mhm.
everything, so we wanted to clean that up.
That'd be
good.
That's really the intent.
Yeah.
I don't-
Good intention abounds with
Yes.
this, but it's just getting
I-
to that answer.
Again, I don't see anything that you're asking for as being inappropriate. It's obviously all mostly replacement in kind, but if you want to go further, you could.
No, I
look at
appreciate
this.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The comment I would make to that, Reagan, is that the header most likely on the second floor, the header of the window is most likely in the same position if you compare it to
Yeah.
the building next door. But the sill was definitely lower, which increased the height of the window.
Makes sense.
Yeah, they might have brought the sill up on the second floor to
Yeah,
make the windows
no,
smaller.
and if you look at the interiors, they've definitely modified them since, over time.
Yeah.
The way the places are being used, the way the houses are being used.
Well, anyways, this picture
Anyway,
is available.
It's there.
Thank you.
So any other comments or questions, or, did I do the public yet?
No.
No? Okay, is anyone in the public would like to speak to this proposal?
Nope.
Okay. I'm going to close the public hearing, look for a motion. Notice-
Can I add a stipulation to any motion to approve? Because I
Would you like
can't,
to make a motion with this stipulation?
I could do that.
Why don't you do that? It'd be
All right.
easier.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a motion to approve with the stipulation that you actually come to show us the, what you actually intend to do with that base.
Absolutely.
And just give us the goods, give us the details, and,
Yeah.
and I think that would satisfy me and hopefully the rest of the board.
And that could be under our administrative approval, and it's, relatively simple. It's not a whole application again.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
All right, so, all those in favor?
Do I need to give
Yes.
Tony?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, you do, actually.
Right. It preserves the integrity of the district and is consistent with the special and defining characters of the surrounding properties.
That works. Okay, now, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any against?
Opposed?
You have one opposed. So there you go.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so unless we have anything else to talk about, I'll say we have a motion to adjourn.
Dunkin' Donuts?
Do you really want to talk
No,
about
I
Dunkin'
don't.
Donuts?
Your Honor, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second.
Aye. Okay.
Is there time to talk about Bruno?
Did everybody vote?
All in
We
favor?
don't.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Yeah, aye.
Aye.
To adjourn?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.